Look around you, different things born out of truth and passion. Business software, it's our craft, our identity. Thoughtfully engineered, passionately designed to help you transform your business. Zoho, made in India, made for the world.
From Motown, let's move to what's really happening within the logistics space. And Allcargo came out with their 5-year strategy. Let's discuss that a little bit more. We've got Ravi Jakhar, the Group CFO and Director Strategy, joining in on the show right now. Ravi, hi, good morning. Great to have you on the show. Ravi, the global logistics sector is seeing quite a bit of shift, right? In trade routes, container availability, digitization, so much disruption. Tell me, how is it that you at Allcargo are kind of positioning yourself to try and benefit from all these changes?
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to be on your show. Talking about the international supply chain, I think it's a very different story when you look at the near term and the long term picture. In the long term picture, what we're witnessing is that with the advent of technology, we can automate more and more processes. It is more about just keeping the front end jobs, in the required offices across the world, while the back end operations, finance, and a lot of other work can be outsourced. And that's been kind of broadly our focus as well, how we can use technology to bring down cost of operations and cost of serving the customer, which can then allow us to expand the operating margins going forward. In the near term, of course, the story is more around the macroeconomic factors, and it is quite contrasting to what we see in our Indian business. Globally, with the whole tariffs and all the restrictions and barriers more in news than facilitating trade policies. What we are witnessing is that the typical festive demand, which we see every year, is a bit muted this time. So let's say in our flagship LCL business, if you were doing about 730,000 cubic meters, in a normal year, that would have jumped to like 790 or 800,000. But this time we are still looking at volumes like 750, 760,000 cubic meters. So basically, instead of an 8 to 10% festive jump, what we are seeing is more like a 4% festive jump. So that's the near term scenario in which, of course, the key aspect is to ensure that we maintain the balance in our trade lanes globally. The good part is that as a company, we are not dependent on any one single geography as a country or a region. We are well diversified across 70 countries. So that's helping us a bit. So idea is to stay focused on conserving cash, focusing on bringing down the cost of operations, using technology to improve further on our digital platform, and stay focused on that as far as the international business is concerned.
So if I were to translate this into numbers then, because you're guiding for your EBITDA to grow from 327 in FY25 all the way to 800 crore rupees in FY30, tell me what would be the main drivers for this?
So there are three core drivers to it. The first is volume expansion. And we believe that we're not looking at any yield expansion, even though we would get into more value-added services. But we still believe that yield may remain range-bound. The volume growth would lead to enhanced gross profits for us. The biggest cost for us as a percentage of gross profit is our staff and admin expenses, majority being staff expenses. And we have already, over the last 12 to 18 months, brought down costs significantly by outsourcing and automating a lot of operating processes. And that's something which we believe will continue to do over the next couple of years. So you would find a much lesser inflation-linked growth in the staff and admin expenses, and rather constrained by improvements through automation. While on the other hand, gross profit should beat the market growth rates because we continue to expand our market share in emerging markets, new opportunities for us in Latin America, Eastern Europe, and some of the other pockets as well. So an expanding gross profit with more constrained staff and admin expenses will allow us to create that operating leverage and continue to expand at a faster pace on the EBITDA. And that's where the guidance also is in sync with that.
Got the NC. By the way, this is Harsh here. Great chatting. Ravi, you've already got the NCLT approval for the restructuring that you're working on. How quickly does this restructuring take place now? Now you've got better visibility on timelines, I would suppose. Give us that perspective, because it's a large unlocking that's likely to happen, at least the way an analyst would typically read it.
Yeah, so we concluded our hearing last week, and now the decision is awaited. Usually going by the norm, we expect the decision to come in any time in the next maybe 10 to 15 days. And once that comes in, it should be another couple of weeks before we make the demerger and the entire composite scheme effective. So I would say there's a high likelihood that as early as November, we should be able to implement the scheme and conclude our 5-year program on restructuring and have the international supply chain business listed as Allcargo Global, and Allcargo Logistics would then primarily combine all our domestic businesses under one entity, and there'll be no subsidiaries. It'll be one listco, which will be the operating entity as well for both the contract logistics and consultative logistics business, and also the B2B express transport business. So I believe we should be able to implement the demerger perhaps from November. That's the timeline right now.
We've spoken a bit about your long-term strategy. Let me talk the medium to short term. With all of this consumption boost, what are you doing to kind of stay ahead of the curve and leverage on the fact that there's likely to be plenty of movement in terms of consumer goods across the country over the next 6 months?
No, I think on that note, I was just talking about how the economic environment on the international trade is subdued. I think on the domestic side and even on the EXIM linked to India side, I think there's a much different story. We are witnessing a good consumption-led growth, and now with the GST reforms, we can clearly see. I would say that for the month of September, perhaps we would, have more 8 to 10% growth over the last month itself. So there's a good momentum on the ground. We are well equipped. We have built-in additional capacity to meet the festive demand. We have enough, we have an asset-light network, so which also makes it a bit more fungible. We have enough capacity to carry cargo. We have enough infrastructure across the key hubs and other strategic locations. So we are well geared up to handle the festive demand on the transport side. And alongside, we are now also, we have a significant presence in various segments on the consultative logistics. There also, we have a good amount of 6 to 7% of an ideal white space, which allows us to operate flexibly. So I would say overall on the domestic side, we see a robust growth momentum, and we are well equipped. And the third business, which is the CFS ICD business under all cargo terminals. Now there we had historically been growing rapidly, and we had almost used up the entire capacity. The good news is that our asset right model there allowed us to quickly scale up capacity, and now we're already working across multi-phase expansion in all the key locations, be it Nhava Sheva, Mundra, Chennai, or even NCR. So I think there again, we are well equipped to benefit from the growth that we expect over the next 3 to 5 years, and as early as in the near short term, we would see expanded capacity within the next 3 to 6 months as well. So I would say we are well prepared for the growth on the domestic front, and we are also well prepared to be resilient in the face of adversities on the international trade.
Okay, Ravi, so great to have you on the show and get in all